Hello, and welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
What's up, guys?
I was watching our intro video, and I just thought to myself, we all have a signature haircut, because I have a bun almost every week. Tracy, is Tracy. And Jake, every once in a while, yours is a teeny bit different when you get a haircut. But I think we all have the same. Mine changes color, but I always have a bun. I never want to do my hair, apparently. It's my show hair.
Hey, you know what? You pick a style and you go with it and you rock it. That's okay.
Oh, man.
I feel like I've developed my style after 40 years, and I just am not going to change it now. Unless I start losing it, then I'm going with the Tracy style, because it's not. If I start losing any of it, it's just gone.
Yeah, I've got I'm missing a bunch here, and then I'm missing a bunch here, but I can grow it here and here. And I was like, you know what? Just let it go.
Well, I think you look good. I like your bald head. Not
it.
everybody can pull it off.
That's what true. I hear. So
you got it.
But it's been a good week. The Utes are in the NIT Final Four. Get to play tomorrow, and I saw Godzilla versus Kong. Did you guys see that one?
Yes.
One yet.
It's getting so much hate, and I thought it was so much fun.
It was fun. There's like, not everything's going to be like a gourmet dinner. Like, sometimes you just want like greasy pizza, and that's what this was.
I want a hot dog and macaroni and cheese every once in a while. Absolutely. And that's what I went for, and that's what I got.
That's exactly what I expected, and that's what I got. Yeah.
What's funny is, so Dave and I are sitting in the theater.
Right.
And there's 2 seats in between us, and then a whole row of guys that came in together. And halfway through the movie, there's a certain instance that happens with the main female character.
Yes.
And I just heard this, oh, come on. And then one other guy is like, it's not believable. And I just wanted to look over at them and say, none of this is real. So therefore, all of it could possibly happen in this make-believe world that doesn't exist.
But a plot point involving a woman? Oh my gosh.
I don't think that that's what it was.
Okay.
I got why they were saying it.
Okay.
Right? Because she was so young.
Right.
And like, out of just one person can do this one thing.
Right.
But I was just like, when they said this isn't believable, I was just like, but Godzilla sucking all of the power out of everything in the world so that he can take down this giant monster that isn't really even that giant,
right,
to save us all. I believe that 100%.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I just thought it was super funny because
I think the only person who realized, though, that they were in a giant monster movie was Dan Stevens, who plays Trapper. I think he was the only one who was like, you know what? I'm going to chew the scenery, and that is okay for this. Everybody else was trying to play it so seriously, and Dan's just having a ball. I was like,
well, this is the thing about that movie, is that as you get into it, I'm like, oh, this is kind of like Lord of the Rings. Oh, that guy and that character in that ship, that's like based on Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, Planet of the Apes over there. Oh, like
the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, well, just a bunch of things about it. But yeah, but it was fun to like see all those things and still get my good old fashioned Godzilla, Kong, Mothra. I love Mothra so much because I have been a fan since I watched my young cousins when they were little, because we'd watch the original Godzilla movies, and then we'd play The Floor is Hot Lava, and it was so much fun. And I do love about this one, because I'm a huge Kong fan. Kong is my favorite, and it was more Kong, where the last Godzilla versus Kong was more Godzilla. So I like that they kind of mix it up and give you a little bit of whatever you're into from this world.
And I did like not a lot of dialogue in the fight scenes, which was nice, but boy, were there some exposition dumps. Like the podcast guy, I'm going to go on a 4-minute monologue just doing complete exposition for you. I was just laughing. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was seriously just a lot of fun.
Just a
but
sugary,
so much hate from other film critics, and I'm like,
it's okay to have fun sometimes, guys.
It's okay to not to be so serious about everything all the time.
Yeah, not everything has to be a Scorsese film.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Sometimes I wonder why anything has to be a Scorsese film anymore.
You know, I'm so hit or miss with Scorsese. Like the stuff that I love, and the stuff that doesn't hit for me, it just falls flat. I'm with that with Ridley Scott a lot too.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what, Tracy? There's a new M. Night Shyamalan movie coming out. Should we talk about it on our show?
Do it. I'm so excited. Isn't his daughter making a movie now too?
I don't know.
I think so.
Sure.
Is her name Eve? I hope it is, because that would be awesome. Since his name is Night. Anyway.
I followed where you were going.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, but I'm sitting there in the theater, and here comes this trailer, and I text Tracy. I text you guys immediately. Yeah. M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Oh, did you see the preview for the Vampire Ballerina movie?
No.
Yeah, they like a bunch of people, and I think it's that Sydney Sweeney, like she's in everything right now, but like they get locked into a house, and it's like
I have seen this preview.
And then she's a ballerina and becomes a vampire, and I'm like, oh,
sounds
that looks
fantastic.
So bad, it looks good.
Yeah, that sounds great. I have to go see the new Omen movie this week.
Oh, the new Omen movie.
What, Jake?
I was just gonna say, I feel like when in the trailer they give away the whole plot, like the major plot points.
Yeah.
It's because they've got.
I mean, though, like, what plot? Do you know what I mean? Like, we know that there's a vampire ballerina. So I think all it is eye candy and brain candy. They're just bringing people to the floor that want to go see movies like Sharknado. Like, they're just like, we're giving you the silliness. So come in
the trailer, they show that they're supposedly kidnapping this girl, or they've been hired to kidnap this girl, and they don't know that she's a vampire until they're locked in the house with her. And so I feel like there are points in the story where there were some twists, and they're not saving any of it for the film.
And that's why I liked Barbarian a lot, because I went into that cold, and then that one's got like 2 major plot twists in it where it becomes a whole different movie.
That movie's crazy. Don't watch that movie, Jake.
Yeah, not a Jake movie, but I've heard mixed on the first Omen. I heard what's the other one with Sydney Sweeney that was just out, the Evil Nun movie.
Yeah, you know me. I'm not into any of this crap, but I got to talk about it this week. And I have a 2-movie, like a double feature, because I have to go right from the first Omen into Monkey Man, which is going to be a wild ride because it's the new Patel movie. He produced it, directed it, and is starring in it. And they were in a different country when they were doing this, and they couldn't get half of their cast through customs. Their camera broke, and they couldn't get new equipment. And so he's shooting half of it on his iPhone. He said he pretty much had to pull people from the production to be on camera because they just had to get this. So this is the biggest crap show of like a shoot, and I hope it goes well.
It looks amazing. Like it looks incredible.
I hope all of the crap that he went through to make this movie, and it's worth it. And then he can be like, "What, Scorsese? What?
Bring it." I love Patel. I think this would be interesting to see him as a director, because I love
PG version of what I really want to do.
The double pinky. Take that, Martin.
A pinky poke.
Friends.
Oh, I guess I could do this. Scorsese.
There you go.
I'm just kidding. I don't hate Scorsese. I'm just giving him crap right now because he's giving everybody else crap. But yeah, so we'll see how those movies are. Tracy, you're going to go with me to 2 movies coming up, so you'll have some reviews as well.
Monkey Man and Civil War. I'm very excited for both.
Yeah.
I love Alec Garland. I didn't really like Men, but otherwise, I think he's been A on everything else he's done.
I don't know A's, but they've been good.
I would say Ex Machina is one of the best sci-fi movies in the last while. That one is really, really, really good.
It's good.
And then Devs was really interesting. It's slow. It's on Hulu, but it pays off. That one was really
I like all the Days Later movies.
Yeah, those were good. He did Sunshine, which Danny Boyle directed. And speaking of which, they're going to do 28 Years Later, which
I know. I'm so excited.
He's going to write. Danny Boyle is going to direct, and Cillian Murphy is going to star in.
He's coming back. I know it's so weird that I don't love horror films, and I'm not really into like zombie really vampire stuff. No. Well, I mean, the first couple they get kind of gruesome, but because the stories are, it's so well. And so well made that I'm just like excited, even though sometimes I'm like this, I still want to keep watching it. So I'm super excited. But I think that's the way I am about AI movies, but also zombie movies. If they're made right, then I want to watch them. If it's just like, let's make a stupid, except for Zombieland, those are made stupid, but
great.
They're fun. But anyway, most of the, Anywho.
I probably won't see most of those movies. Not First Omen. I'm sure that is not on my list, or not.
Evil Nuns isn't your thing, Jake? Come on.
Not typically. I mean, sometimes you're in the mood.
Whose thing is it? Like, I mean, I'm sure someone out there.
Somebody is, because they make a lot of them.
Yeah,
they make a lot of Evil Nun movies. So, or at least nuns getting impregnated by Satan a lot. So,
those poor nuns.
Right? Satan's I won't say.
Well,
Satan's a Satan.
I think that's
Satan's
the
devil.
It's the general consensus on that. So,
groundbreaking news breaking here first.
Happy Easter, everybody!
Oh yeah, happy Easter.
Happy April 1st.
Yeah. It is April 1st. We should have done some kind of joke on.
Yeah, I'm not a prankster though.
Nah, me.
Our friends over at Cutscenes and Cupcakes, one of their husbands reached out to me in a group, and I don't know if you guys were on the same group too, saying, "Hey guys, today is not Steph's birthday, but I'm going to say I changed it on Facebook, so it says it's her birthday, so everybody go wish her a happy birthday."
Oh, I didn't see that.
I saw the happy birthday wishes. I did not see the fact that
so she got all these birthday wishes and everything.
Okay, that's pretty funny.
Dave and I accidentally celebrated April Fool's Day last night by watching a Mel Gibson movie that's streaming on Netflix where he's a radio DJ. And it wasn't awful, but I definitely don't want to tell you what's going on, but I want you all to watch it and then tell me what you think. But him being a radio DJ, like the first 15 minutes of the movie, Dave's like, "That's bugging you, right? This is killing you, right?" Because of the stuff that they're doing that no DJ, no radio personality, well, maybe somebody out there does it, but no. I worked 6.5 years and I was green going in and I didn't do half those things. So, I don't know.
Oh, that's okay.
Me. I'll look it up while you guys are chatting about other things.
All right.
You're supposed to give us a topic at that point. Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves about rabbits.
Well, it is Easter.
Peter
Cottontail.
It's called On the Line. Because get it, like somebody's on the line. He's a talk, like he's the late night, the midnight to whatever, like talk guy.
Gotcha.
So hey, you're on the line. Yeah.
This is like Frasier.
Yeah, but with murder.
Ooh.
Oh. Well, that would have made that show a lot better. Frasier.
I watched it. I didn't hate it.
It was fine. I think it's one of those shows though that you watch and it's like, this doesn't connect with me on a lot of levels because he's so wealthy and like the lifestyle that they live. I'm like, this just isn't my lifestyle.
I loved the dad. The dad all day long.
The dad and the brother.
Yeah.
Niles was great, but didn't watch the reboot.
No.
Yeah. I watched a couple episodes. Not great. Not great. But, they can't all be winners.
Because they're not.
97. So.
I want to apologize, though, because we've been talking about AI movies. And a few times in both shows that we talked about the movie we were talking about this week, I got it wrong. And I was talking about AI, which we're talking about tonight, artificial intelligence. And I kept on saying Will Smith, which is not in AI. He's in a totally different movie that I also really, really like. So there we are. I apologize. If you stopped listening to us just because of that mistake, I apologize. Please come back.
Come back.
Please come back.
Yeah, because that was definitely the first time any of us have made a mistake on air. So that's the one to push you over the edge. I don't really know what to say. Like, there's been so many from all of us. So
that's like the people in the Godzilla movie. They're like, "Oh, that's unbelievable. I'm out."
Yeah. Can't believe she thought Will Smith was in AI. Nobody believed that. But that's what happens when we have AI write our scripts. It's not always accurate.
Somebody writes our scripts. We have scripts. Oh,
yeah,
crap.
I know. Yeah. But we are going to talk about artificial intelligence, the movie, or as I like to call it, Pinocchio with robots.
Yes,
because that's what it is.
And originally it was just going to be called AI, but people kept thinking it was A1, and they were afraid that they would confuse that with steak sauce. So they put AI, artificial intelligence, is the official title.
I want them to make an A1 steak sauce movie now, because that's the thing.
Probably is working on that right now.
They did Flamin' Hot last year that apparently a lot of people liked. Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart story, which looks like it's going to be so horribly funny and bad.
It's. I hope it is notoriously on purpose bad. And I think it is. I think it knows what it is, and it's leaning into that.
Yeah.
But that somebody's not making Worcestershire.
Well, that's because we can't say it. We don't know how to say it.
Worcestershire?
That's worse than. It just won't work. So.
I also got a lot more vibes this time watching this movie, like Blade Runner vibes.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Which I didn't notice because I haven't watched this movie in probably, 10 plus years. I've watched it at least a handful of times, but it's been a while, and I noticed a lot more this time around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of movie flavor to it.
Yeah.
It has all those things. I felt like it had too much. It was probably about a half hour, 45 minutes too long.
The pacing is pretty glacial.
Yeah.
And last week we were talking about Minority Report and how that didn't really feel like a Spielberg movie. I don't think this one has notes of Spielberg, but it also doesn't feel like a Spielberg movie either. And the parts that didn't feel like it, I think, are the parts that I really enjoyed, was because he was doing something outside of, his, at the time he made this movie, he kind of had this comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
That he was in. And so the fact that he jumped out, this was made in 2001, was really nice.
Well, it's interesting too, because this is based on a short story, and Kubrick had the rights to the story and held on to it for a long time. And because Kubrick didn't think that a young actor would be able to pull off being a robot. So he kept waiting for the CGI to catch up to where they could actually have a robot kid. And then he passed away in 99. He had asked Spielberg to direct it. Spielberg said, no, you need to direct it. And then after Kubrick died, then Spielberg went ahead and did it. But it's interesting to me because the parts that feel like Spielberg, that I would have thought that that's what he put into the film, evidently, those are the things that Kubrick did. Like the whole ending, that's word for word what Kubrick had.
Oh, wow. And that felt very Spielberg.
That felt very Spielberg, But the Pleasure Island sequence, that was all Spielberg, evidently. So that really surprised me.
I like how you're Shatnerizing your words tonight. Robot.
Yeah, it is.
Spielberg.
Spielberg.
I like it. If you could do that the whole show.
It's kind of a Bill Shatner mixed with Christopher Walken.
No, not that.
Robots.
Robots. No, I do like the idea of this film because
Mhm.
a lot of AI films have this similar idea for a story. So if you think about even the animated movie Robots, right?
Right.
You're thinking of something that doesn't quite belong somewhere else and how it's trying to belong somewhere else. And it's trying to figure out who it is. There's a Robin Williams movie where he's a robot,
Bicentennial Man.
Demolition Man. What is it called?
Bicentennial Man.
Demolition Man is a totally different movie. Totally different movie. Bicentennial Man, but they all kind of like are figuring it out, right? And so in this movie, it does take place a little bit more in the future than, like, it goes past where we are now. Like last week we talked about
it's not the near future. Like,
it's not the near future, although a lot of things still look the same. We've got more futuristic cars. Robots already exist in the world, but this is the first time they're jumping into a robot that has feelings and a robot that's a kid, which to me was a little unbelievable that after having robots for that long. I know what I just said.
I know.
I know. But as I was watching it, I was like, really? You haven't tried this before? Because I feel like that would be something you would try right away, because us as the human race, we want to get that money. And if you can give people kids that don't have kids, you're getting all the money, right? Like,
well, it always starts with the sex robots, though.
Always the sex robots first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's where the kids come after. Yeah. So they had the sex robots down. They had the Gigolo Joe.
Yeah.
So that was.
I just think it's funny. Like, it always starts with the sex robots because them's the rules.
Well, let's be honest. When it comes to technology, sex is what pushes the technology forward almost all the time.
I mean, it's the oldest working job ever. But
that's how we got streaming. That's how we got VHS. Yeah.
And it was funny watching the scene when you go into the area, like this kind of, the sex robot area.
Pleasure Island.
It felt a lot like Guardians of the Galaxy when they go to like that futuristic island. Was that Guardians 3?
I think so. I think that was 3. Yeah.
So
you saw After Yang, didn't you?
Yes.
I didn't see that one. How does that is that kind of the similar? I know it had to deal with a child robot.
Yeah, that one is more, I gotta say, a love story. And I'm not meaning like romantic love, but just this ultimate love story. It's not, I mean, it would be cool if we talked about that because it is so different. There are some similarities, but in such a different feel than any of these movies that we're talking about, because in these movies you have humans that are struggling to connect to robots as a living thing.
Right.
That is not the feel that I got from that movie.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do want to watch that movie again because I've only seen it once, and I just, every time I see the picture of it as I'm streaming, I just feel an overwhelming sense of melancholy. That's how that movie made me feel. Yeah. And it's beautiful. It's a beautifully shot film. But yeah, I think Haley Joel Osment did such a great job.
Yeah.
At the time, it is really hard to cast a kid that you think could do something. And this is really hard because you have to be robotic, cold, and then loving and a kid, but also still just be a kid, right?
And in some ways a little creepy.
Yeah.
Like mimicking without eating, and the laughing with just out of nowhere. And, there's a couple of scenes where it's a little unsettling.
Yeah. It was interesting when those scenes kind of pop up and he is, creepy and uncomfortable. It's interesting because when the husband brings him home, he's the one that's all excited about it. And then as time goes on, and she's the one that's apprehensive, but then as time goes on, she's much more welcoming to him and sees him much more as her child. And the husband, like, first chance is like, we need to get rid of it, and keeps calling it, right?
That was weird to me. Like, it didn't feel like there was enough of a of an
Yeah.
Like why would he go that far in that direction if it's making his wife so happy, which is what he wanted to do in the beginning?
Yeah. His character was just weird, I think, very underdeveloped, Tracy, and just because he came in so hot on the idea, and then quickly he was the one that got very, very cold on it, and
very rapidly too.
Yeah, just interesting.
I do want to say, like, they really pulled some strings on the cast here. You have Jude Law, which I actually liked him as Gigolo Joe. Or I've talked on past shows before that he's hit and miss for me, but I do think he did a good job. You have Brendan Gleeson for a little snap second, and I love him so much. William Hurt, who I could watch in anything. And I love Frances O'Connor, who plays...
Frances O'Connor is great.
She plays the mom, and I don't think she's in enough. Like, I've seen her in a lot of movies, but I still don't think it's enough. Ben Kingsley voice, I could listen to him talk all day long. Robin Williams. We even have Ken Leung. I don't know if I ever say his name right, but he's fantastic. Very small part from him. But what I loved the most is Clark Gregg, who his name in the credits is called Super Nerd Number 1.
Yes.
And then,
which one is Super Nerd Number 1?
So at the beginning of the movie, when they're in, like, he's demonstrating what this robot can do
in the classroom.
He's sitting and he comments in the classroom, and I was like, oh.
I missed that.
I went and looked up like what his part was in the movie, and it's called Super Nerd Number 1.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah. And then Meryl Streep. This is the first time I watched this movie and realized that Meryl Streep's voice is at the end of the movie for the Blue Fairy.
Yeah.
I had never noticed that before. So, I mean, a lot came into this. Spielberg just kind of got on the phone. He's like, hey.
You want to work?
Okay. For you, Stephen, I'll do it.
I mean, they probably did it for Kubrick too. Like, hey, it's...
I'm sure. I think both of them had enough pull.
And it's real, like I said, it's an interesting movie because, like, it doesn't feel like a Kubrick film, but it does, and it doesn't feel like a Spielberg film, but it does. It's this weird hybrid that I can't quite put my finger on. And I had never watched this before watching it this week, so it was weird. But I was seeing a lot of Ridley Scott influence in this, a lot of Blade Runner type of feel to it. But yeah, some of the Pleasure Island sequences when they're at the Flesh Fair and they shoot the robots into the propeller and the face hits the fence. I'm like, wow, Stephen went dark. Like, wow.
Now, I will say that nothing should ever be named the Flesh Fair. Like, that is just such...
Especially in a PG-13 film,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like kids don't know what that is.
No, they don't. But it just sounds weird.
Who voices Teddy?
I don't know.
Teddy, because I'm looking it up and it doesn't say. And the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, whose voice is this? Because I recognize it, but I can't put my finger on it. And I'm looking at
Angel.
Oh, how come you're seeing it and I'm not seeing it?
It just said, I just searched voice of Teddy and AI, and it says Jack Angel as Teddy on IMDb, but I don't know who Jack Angel is.
Okay, well, I really love his voice, and it's hard to, we've recognized this in a lot of the Star Wars movies with droids, in that when you can feel a character like that's being voiced. I mean, Rocket, right? You've got the voice behind the animation, the thing that is not real, make you feel so much for that character. And I just loved Teddy. I liked the idea of Teddy. And when they're running, out of the, when they both get saved, when they're in the flesh, whatever, they were going to get killed and they run away. And Teddy's like so far behind them. All I thought was turn around and get Teddy. Like he's got little legs. He cannot run that fast. I don't want anything to happen to him.
Val, he was the voice of the shark in Toy Story.
Okay.
He's done a
lot of voice acting. He was Papa Smurf in the Smurfs movies.
Monsters University.
Oh, okay.
The Lorax. A lot of video games too.
Yep.
He passed away in 2021.
Oh, okay.
But he was the voice of Chunk
20
in
years
Toy
after
Story
the movie.
3. Toy Story Mania. Yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff. Yeah, Cars, did a lot of Pixar stuff. So
says he was in Watchmen, but not what he played in Watchmen or what voice he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
the kid scene every time their actual kid, Martin.
Yeah, Martin.
Was there. Now, I have to say, I do feel for this kid, right? So he's basically cryogenic, like dead, right? And he wakes up and he comes home, and there is this replacement there for him, right? So that's like a toddler getting a new sibling, and they act out for a while before they like get to know each other. And so you do kind of see that jerky brother thing, but it gets like he's doing things to really make him feel bad. But you could tell then when he has his birthday party by the pool, when his friends start picking on him, he starts like sticking up for his brother. You can see a little bit. And then right when you can kind of see their relationship start to click in that moment, something bad happens, and then it's like it's over.
Right. And I think it's interesting too, like the way they set up the film, the way Spielberg sets up the film, like you think that everybody kind of lives the way that the parents live.
Mm-hmm.
And that's they're like the 1%ers.
Yeah.
Like they are the top, because most of the people are living a pretty crummy existence at the end of the world here.
Yeah.
You know, going to the Flesh Fair and the Pleasure Island, and it's not this idealized neighborhood with little kids' birthday parties.
Yeah.
And
it's very much a Geppetto moment, right? When she's having to leave him in
the forest.
She just leaves him out in like this place that's the place you can leave him. That's the only place. And then she's like, don't go that way, which is a very Geppetto moment. Like, don't ever go over there. And you need to stay on this. And then where does he go? He goes over there.
Well, that's because the kids do, right? You say, don't go here. And they're,
all that sticks out to them is the last thing you said, which was go here.
Well, especially like he's like, I love when she said, I'm sorry, I never taught you about the world. Right. Yeah. And I think as parents in general, or as, I'm sure as an Uncle Tracy, like you have these moments with the littles that are in our lives. And when we're with them in those moments, we're having a good time. We're creating memories. But how often do we sit them down and say, okay, we were having fun, but let's sit down for a minute and talk about what is in the world right now. And as Sammy's been growing up, that's like a big thing for me is, she's 22 out traveling. And I always think to myself, did I tell her enough about, like not to do this and that and to look out for this and that, And so I think that was a real moment. She felt like he was her kid, and her acting in that moment of leaving him in that swampy area it was heartbreaking. Like, she is such a good actress.
Well, and I got to say that the natural tendency is to kind of protect and keep the kid away from all of those things.
Yeah.
So I can totally see why that would be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with a robot kid. You wouldn't think like, I need to, because you're like, your kid's never going to grow up. The robot's always going to be the same age. He's just going to live with the, expect that you got to send the robot out on its own someday like you would a kid.
Yeah. Just a heartbreaking moment. But also really weird that there's just this swamp nearby. And then if you walk through the swamp 20 minutes, now you're in this dystopian robot world.
Mm-hmm.
There was some really interesting design on those robots too.
Yeah. It was hard to get the lay of the land with how everything looked. And obviously they set it up at the beginning that everything looks very different because the ice caps have melted and whole cities are underwater and everything else. But it was really hard to get that feel because the beginning was so just suburban. And so just normal.
Right.
That, I agree, Val. It was just weird that like here's the swamp and then there's this dystopian robot place and
Mm-hmm.
you know the Pleasure Island place and all that.
Yeah, it's good. It's interesting too because like when they've rounded up all the old robots, like some of them are really funky design. Where I'm like, I don't know what purpose you served before, like why somebody made that robot that way, and I wish they could have dove into that a little bit more. But I did think it's like the effects still held up. The part where they're like going through the when the machine shows up and it dumps all the parts. And like the robots are trying to repair themselves. I'm like, okay, this holds up pretty impressively here.
I think a lot of the practical effects do. Anything that was CGI didn't. I don't think held up very well.
I wasn't. I mean, I was watching it on a smaller TV, so to me, it didn't take me out at all. I just let myself go into it, so none of the CGI bothered me. I think it was more of just how some of the story was a little disconjointed. Like you said, Tracy and Jake, like, give me a little bit more of why this is over there, right? Because we've all seen... Somebody's knocking on my door, like really pounding on it. So I'm going to let you guys do whatever you need to do, and I will be right back.
She's seen enough horror movies. She should know that she should not answer that door.
Well, but I don't know that. I mean, who's going to answer it if it's not her?
No.
The dogs? Or maybe Dave's home.
I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
Saying. She doesn't like horror movies, but she's seen them. So
well, hopefully she makes it back okay.
If not, you and I need to go together because I know you don't split up in a horror film.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I was going to say something else that was really bad, so I'm not going to say it. But
message me off air. I'm curious.
Yeah. I really felt like the CGI was really dated. I don't know that it took me out, but like when Dr. No shows up, it was way overly cartoony, and I think it was intended to be a little bit like that, but I just felt like it just and the blue fairy at the very end looked really, really poorly rendered compared to a lot of the stuff that we see today. And it's 22 years old. I get it.
Right.
But everything else looked so good. And so when it came to those parts, it just...
Like I said, the part where they're like switching out robot jaws and stuff, I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like this holds up pretty good. But the Dr. No and a few things, I would agree that it was didn't hold up as well, which is hard.
No worries. It was just the dogs trying to break down the door into the basement.
Okay.
We were afraid that you were like going into a horror movie, and we're like,
That's what I felt. Like, I'm like, which door do I go and open? Oh yeah, I have a camera on my phone, and I left the phone down here.
Downstairs in the basement.
It was just the dogs. They weren't getting any attention. They said, hey, we want to be down there where the party is.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get it.
Cleanse.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree about that. There was a lot of parts I thought were really neat visually, and I really liked the Dr. No. Like that
we didn't like that part as much.
I liked it. I liked it because it is very tricky, right? It's always that kind of genie situation, and having Robin Williams be that same thing is you've got to be very specific about what you ask. And they were both characters were so naive into how to phrase what they were asking for. And so it made me think like, okay, so how would I get here and how would I phrase that for another computer to give me what I need? Because, asking where the blue fairy is, if you don't understand quite what that means, and being in the time frame that you're in, like he was reading off, the blue fairy could be a lot of different things, right? Like, So to me, that I thought it was a little creative.
It was,
and that they used it to get him back home because they knew that he would be really into that. Like so for me, that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, that part of it was good, and I do agree. There were points you forget Jude Law is a mecha maybe isn't as familiar, like that there is a certain naivety there, because you think in the industry that he works, he's like a man of the world. He should like kind of know what's going on, but yet he's kind of somewhat believing this whole blue fairy thing and like can we and like I think normally a character like that would be like, kid, I don't know what to tell you. Like, and he tried to be realistic with him, but it was very much like there was still that hope. Like at the very end when he's getting taken, he's like, when you find the blue fairy, like, you know, anyway.
Hear me out and don't be angry at this comparison.
Okay.
But there were moments of the movie that I felt like he was a little bit like C-3PO in that he only is very well versed at what he was trained to do. Right? Mm-hmm. So he is trying to make people feel very good about themselves, to give them what they need. And when he gets outside of that element, he is then more like a child because he doesn't quite know these areas, where then you get into the kid, and because he's been given these extra feelings, these extra things to do, sometimes he knows more than that character, which I thought was kind of neat as well. And I think that's why he did end up believing in the blue fairy, because it gave all of them hope, and that kid believed in it so much that he started believing it.
It's interesting because he is programmed for that, you know,
and the way he was programmed, he wouldn't have been
sex bot.
Now that's a sentence I wasn't expecting.
But like it's interesting because, you know, when they're at the church and he talks about how he found a lot of clients at that church, and then a lady walks out and he turns on, you know, does little neck thing and his music starts playing. He starts walking away, and then David's like, you know, we got to go find the blue fairy, and he stops. And that part was a little bit weird to me because he does, like, supposedly nobody has these emotions. None of these robots feel anything. So why would he feel guilty or pulled to that? But then I think you're right, Val. That was his programming, is like, I have to be here for this. Like, I can't abandon this. My job is to help him feel good and comfortable. And I can't just walk away from that because that's my programming.
Yeah.
And also I think he saw something in the kid that maybe, because there was a quote I heard today, and I do feel like the more and more we get into AI, we're training AI to do what we want it to do, and it's going to grow. It's going to be smart, right? And there was a quote I heard today that if you put people that have done bad things into good situations, they're going to start to do good things, and vice versa. If you put good people into bad situations, bad things are going to happen. And when I see this robot kind of just a little bit getting connected to this boy, it gives him a purpose that he didn't know he had. He doesn't know what it is. He doesn't understand it, but he is kind of pulled, and we don't know why he's doing it. But for me, it was that little reminder, like, even though we didn't program, if you put one program out there that's like this, and we made these AIs to be smart, you add one little thing in there that's the change, and it's going to
go in a different direction than you expect.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the David robot, then Gigolo Joe wouldn't exist anymore, because he basically saves him at Jake's favorite place, the Flesh Fair.
Yeah. That's a sentence. Think about what you just said. If it wasn't for the David robot, the Gigolo Joe wouldn't have been saved. If you haven't seen this movie, that's a weird sentence.
Pitch this movie to us, Tracy. Pitch this movie, Tracy. I feel like we're going to have him do this every week. Give us a two-sentence pitch of this movie, Tracy.
We have innocent kid robot, and then we have sex robot played by Jude Law, and they're going to go on an adventure together to find the blue fairy and help him become a real boy.
Yeah. I think you just pitch it as Pinocchio, but they're all robots. I mean, that's
Pinocchio, but with a sex robot.
Jake just wants us to not to stop saying
Sex
that.
robots sell.
He's just an adult entertainer robot.
Yeah. Let's not shame. Let's not shame the sex workers. Yeah.
No, never ever.
Shaming.
Yeah, but like I want to go back to what Jake said towards the beginning of the show is that there's a lot. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Like there's some points that there's too much. When you feel like the movie is over.
Yeah.
It's not over.
Yeah.
No.
And yes, as much as there are things that I like about the end, I could have also just had him end up just being sunk at the bottom of the ocean with just living the rest of his existence with the blue fairy, and that's how he goes out.
And that's when I thought it was going to end there, and I was like, okay, this is a very Kubrick type ending. And then we get the whole ending that is real, and I'm like, wow, that's very Spielbergian.
Yeah.
But then it's not him. That was Kubrick's influence. So I was like, whoa.
When the Ferris wheel fell and they were trapped in the cage, and we got to that point, I thought it was the end. I looked because I was watching it on my laptop. I looked to see how much was left, and there was still another 20 minutes. I'm like, yeah, no, this is just a lot. But you know, I get it. You want to get your message the way you want to get your message, and you do the piece of work like you want to do it. But it was just, it felt like an ending, and then it wasn't. It was worse than Return of the King, where there's like 5 of those.
Yeah, to me, and this is interesting because last week we were talking about, and I said that this was Spielberg just pushing the pedal to the metal. Like he feels all in on Minority Report. It was like this interested him, this excited him, and to me, this one just felt more like I'm obligated to do this movie for my friend Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
And instead of I'm passionate about this and I want to do this, it was more like I'm doing this to honor my friend who wanted to make this movie. And so I think that's kind of where some of that disconnect happens for me. I felt the same way, and I'm not going to say it's as bad as Ready Player One, but I kind of felt the same way.
I almost brought that up, yeah.
And that it doesn't feel like he's as involved in the making of it. He feels detached from it in some ways.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I just felt like when you know that it was 2 different directors' movies, it feels like 2 different directors' movies. Yeah. You know, and there's parts in the movie where, like I said, it kind of feels like other movies, which I don't mind. We just talked about, you know, the new Kong movie and how it inspires that. But I think, like you said, Tracy, if you're not super inspired to make it, then you kind of pull some things that are recognizable just because. But I did actually like the part when the kid is sitting out there on the edge of the building, which was very much Blade Runner, looking over everything. And then when he falls into the water and you've got Joe, why does he go down and save him? Right? Like if he doesn't have he wanted to believe what the kid believed. By that point, he wanted to know. And then when he's getting pulled, you know, out of the ship to his death, basically, when he said, I was here, or whatever he said, he started to believe that he was more than what he was made for. Which is, that's the message that that's the message that I want everybody to get from every AI movie. I'm not against AI, but guess what? If you think that AI is always going to be under our control, we ruin everything we make. Just like he says in the movie, like they overpopulated the world with robots.
Yeah.
And now this is what had been created, right? Because they created more than what was needed too fast. And, you know, and now there's this whole group of robots that is not what the human race wanted. Well, too bad. Like you did it to yourselves. So be careful what you wish for.
On that happy note.
Too bad you did it to yourselves. That's it.
Just be careful, bro. Just be careful. Just think about what you're doing before you do it. Jurassic Park.
We'll be like, Spielberg tried to warn us.
Yeah.
in so many movies.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
recurring theme. Yeah, not only is it like daddy issues, but it's the science run amok thing. Yeah,
That was the thing watching this in Minority Report. Like there was so much that it was like, yep, I can clearly see how we're on this path. And like it, you mentioning, Tracy, that they had to name it AI, artificial intelligence. Like now you wouldn't have, everybody knows what AI is.
Yeah,
and it's just taken over the last few years. And what does it become? I mean, this is kind of the logical evolution of what it's going to become next.
Right.
Is robots and toys, and like that Teddy thing is not that far off from like you can get a little robot that sits on your desk and like interacts with you. I mean, not to the same level that Teddy does, obviously, yet, but like that's where we're going with it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I just I'm just like Will Smith in the other movie that's not this movie that I kept calling this movie. Is I'm gonna hold on to my regular shoes and I'm gonna drive my car by myself for as long as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's just a short jump from there, the AI robot Teddy, to like it becomes self-aware, and all of a sudden we're in the Matrix, which we might be in now. Who knows?
Yeah.
Ooh, we should do the Matrix. We haven't done that one.
We have not done the Matrix.
We've never done the Matrix. That's interesting.
Wow.
Just the original?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do just the original. I'd be open to that.
The other one's not so great, but that one was good. Anyway, and I kind of feel like we need to do iRobot now. That
we do.
We've talked a lot about iRobot.
I actually really enjoy iRobot. So
it's been a while, but I remember liking it. So
you're probably gonna hate it, Tracy. Let's be real.
Wow.
Oh man, Tracy, who's one of the, like most positive, optimistic people I know. Like, but
you're gonna hate it.
Yeah.
I just like to say it just to give you crap.
Anyway,
just to give you crap.
If it's got sex robots in it, I'm in. So
no sex robots in that one. Sorry, man. See, you're gonna hate it. So
we should do if it wasn't so much about sex robots, I'd say we should do Ex Machina, but that won't be up Jake's. That one's very sex robot heavy.
No, I just want to move on to talk about something else. That's what I'd like to do now.
That's another sex robot show.
So let's give this one a grade. I'll start. I'm probably going to pull the kind of do the Tracy roll this time. I'm going to give it a C+. It was fine. There was nothing like awful about it. It was long, I felt like, and you have to understand, I really, really got a lot of the Pinocchio vibes on purpose, right? Like that's the design. And that is one of my least favorite stories. I don't like the Pinocchio movie by Disney, and we've talked about it with Guillermo del Toro's. Like it was beautiful, but it was still Pinocchio, right? And that's what this is for me too. So it's a C+. That's where I would rate this one.
I'm around that, like C+ or B-, probably more in the C+ one. There's a lot of things about the movie that I like, and there are a lot of heartwarming moments. There's a lot of good messaging about, be careful what you wish for, be careful what you create. There's a lot of those moral dilemmas that they brought up a couple of times, like how badly do we want this? And there's some good things that can come out of, AI, and there's good things that can come out of everything. But all in all, I don't think that all of the movie held up. I do think it was too long, and I also think there was too much going on. There was too many different story things and places, and no real way to bring them together. We've seen with Guardians of the Galaxy that they go to a lot of different places, and like you have that kind of knowledge a little bit by seeing how all these things connect. Even
or do what King Godzilla X Kong does, where it puts up the title card as to where you're located now.
Something.
We're in Middle Earth or Hollow Earth, and now we're in Cairo, and now we're in
something. Sometimes I just wasn't sure where we were going, and what we wanted.
I'm it's interesting because last week, Val, you said that we would have very dissimilar takes on this movie, and I'm right there with you and Jake. It's a C for me. It's really, I'd never seen it before. It was an interesting watch. It was interesting to see Kubrick mixed with Spielberg, but it is really long, and it's slowly edited. Like, it feels slow paced.
I just think the last time I saw it, I was a little bit mesmerized by it because we didn't have a whole lot of that going on.
Sure.
And, you know, I'm a huge Spielberg fan, right? And it was something very different. And it was just so cool to watch that. But now to put it up against movies of similar, you know, genre, and it just, for me, it didn't hold up. It's not as mesmerizing now because of all of the things we tried. The pacing is just not great.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there you go. There's AI, artificial intelligence. The movie, we gave it a C. Actual artificial intelligence that is probably listening to us talk right now. We love it. It's amazing.
Great.
I always thank Siri, because I figure once AI takes over, I want to be on the good side. So I'm always like, thanks, Siri.
Yeah. So I think it's important that we recognize that. Thank you so much for listening, for supporting our show. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. You can subscribe here on YouTube. Make sure to follow, leave a like, share it with your friends, all the fun stuff. We appreciate it. And until next time, we won't see you at the movies. Bye.
This has been an Age of Geek media production.